Hello students, I am going to discuss today the machine chapter. This is the chapter 3. So what is machine? Machine is a device by which we can do our work easily. Now it can be done by various ways. One, it can overcome large resistive force by applying comparatively lesser force. By applying comparatively overcome large resistive force by applying comparatively lesser force. That means you have to overcome greater force, but you have to apply smaller force. In this case, the machine is called force multiplier. Force multiplier. I will give you the examples. Like when you open a tin can, your fingers are not enough. Fingers don't create enough force to open the tin lid. Then use a spoon. So there, with application of little bit small force, you can open the tin. That is, you are overcoming a large resistive force by applying comparatively lesser force, and the spoon here is acting as a force multiplier, which is actually acting as a crowbar or something like that. Then second thing is it makes our work easier by changing the direction of effort. Changing direction of our force effort. Then applying force at a convenient point. That is another function of machine. Or last one is the gain in speed, where you don't need to apply much effort, but by using the machine you can gain in speed. So these are the few functions of machine. So machine does the work easily by overcoming the large resistive force by applying comparatively lesser force, or by applying the force at a convenient point, or by changing the direction of force, or gain in speed. So these are the examples, these are the functions of machine which are included as a definition of machine. And then there are certain examples like lifting heavy load by applying less effort. I gave you the jack used in the car, it is given in your book also, you can read. Then in changing the point of application, like the rear wheel of the cycle is rotated by the paddle. Now paddle is applied somewhere else, so you are applying the force at the paddle which is not on the rear wheel. If you apply the force if you fit the paddle on the rear wheel and try to rotate it, you have to apply much greater effort, and it is difficult. Then changing the direction of effort, you have used pulleys. You know that you can use pulleys for lifting the bucket of water from the well. Then obtaining gain in speed, that is a greater movement of load by a smaller movement of force applied. Pair of scissors, blade of knife, etc. are the examples. Now few terms which are related to the machine are, first of all, the large resistive force which you are overcoming, that is called load, and the force you apply to the machine is called the effort. So here the load is L, I show by L, and there the effort I show by E. Then mechanical advantage, I write mechanical advantage is given as ratio of load to effort L by E. Mechanical advantage is equal to L by E. Now since L is the force, effort is also a force, that is both have the same unit, so mechanical advantage has no unit. Now here very important part I am going to tell you, if mechanical advantage which you are giving as load by effort is equal to 1, it means load is equal to effort. The machine here will be used to change the direction or to apply at a convenient point, force at a convenient point. For such uses machines will be used because load is equal to effort. Then if mechanical advantage is equal to load by effort is greater than 1, that means load is greater than effort, means what? It will be acts as a force multiplier. Force multiplier means you have to apply lesser effort compared to the load. And then if mechanical advantage is equal to load by effort is less than 1, then load is less than effort. That means you have to apply greater effort than the load, like in scissor. So here the machine will be used as speed multiplier. Here you don't gain in force but gain in speed. Speed multiplier. So these are the description. These are the few things. Mechanical advantage you understood, then load effort you understood. Then next part that I am telling you that when you are applying the load, then on a particular point of the machine the load is applied, so that is called load point. Load point. And the effort where you apply, that is called the effort point. Effort point. Then when you are applying the effort, the load point gets displaced. This displacement of the load point we call in general as a displacement of the load as dl, and similarly the effort will also get displaced, that is called dE. Then when you are applying the effort, at the same time the duration for which you apply the effort, the load also gets lifted or displaced, whatever it is. So displacement of effort and displacement of the load, displacement of effort at the effort point and distance of load, displacement of the load at the load point, both will take place at the same time. So we call velocity of load is equal to displacement of load by time, and velocity of effort is equal to displacement of effort by time. Actually this is not displacement of effort, displacement of effort point, and this is not displacement of load, displacement of the load point. And time in both the cases are t because they take place simultaneously. The ratio between the velocity of effort to the velocity of load is called velocity ratio. I have written it as VR. VR is the velocity ratio, that is the ratio of velocity of effort to velocity of load. If you put it dE by t by dl by t, it is equal to dE by dl. Again it has no unit. Displacement of effort to the displacement of load is the velocity ratio. Now mechanical advantage I explained you. I had explained you the velocity ratio. Now the thing is that when you are applying effort, so we studied that when we are applying the effort point gets displaced, and due to which the load also gets displaced. So both are the forces, and there is displacement of both the points, effort point and the load point. So there is work done. So what is work done by the effort? Work done by the effort is called work input. Work input, and that is written as Wi. And work done by the machine on the load, that is called work output. Output, that is equal to Wo. Okay, so work input by, then we define the efficiency of a machine, eta, as work output by work input. Generally it is expressed as percentage, so into 100%. Now if I try to put the values, work input is the effort into displacement of the effort. You know work energy, when chapter you have studied, work is equal to effort into force into displacement. So here work input will be effort into displacement of effort, and work output will be L into dl, load into displacement of the load. So if you put the values, eta will be equal to EDE, work output LDL by EDE into 100%, then L by E into D1 by DE by DL into 100%. So eta you are getting equal to L by E is mechanical advantage, and dE by dl is equal to velocity ratio we have derived earlier into 100%. So it is equal to mechanical advantage by velocity ratio into 100%. So this is the relationship between the efficiency of a machine, mechanical advantage and velocity ratio. So efficiency of an ideal machine is 1 or 100%. The efficiency is 100% means the efficiency is equal to 100% means mechanical advantage by velocity ratio is equal to 1. So ME is equal to velocity ratio. But for ideal machine, but you know, principle of machine says that a machine never do the work by itself. It does work whenever some work is done on it. So the output work of a machine can never be greater than the input work. That will be against the law of conservation of energy. So maximum it can be equal to work input, work output can be equal to work input, then the machine will have 100% efficiency, and we call this machine as ideal machine. But actually what happens, actually the efficiency of a machine is always less than 100%. That means for actual machine efficiency is less than 100%, means mechanical advantage by velocity ratio is less than 1. So mechanical advantage is less than velocity ratio. So velocity ratio remains the same whether it is ideal machine or actual machine, only the mechanical advantage decreases. It will be lesser than the velocity ratio. That will be coming up much better way when you will be doing pulleys. So this is all about. But now why the machine will not have 100% efficiency? The reason is that different frictional parts, the friction between the moving parts of the machine, the moving parts are not weightless or smooth, the string is not perfectly elastic, and the different parts are not perfectly rigid. For this reason, the efficiency of a machine cannot be 100%, it will be less than 100%. Okay children, so we discussed the machine part. Now I will discuss a very simple type of machine which is called lever. A lever is the simplest form of the machine, which is a straight or bent bow which is capable of turning about a point. The point about which it turns, that is known as fulcrum. So I am drawing a simple part, schematic diagram. So here it is load, then this part is called fulcrum. It can be a knife edge or something else. Then this is the effort. Now depending upon the position of the load, fulcrum and effort, we have different types of levers. But before that, let me tell you the distance between load and fulcrum is called load R, and distance between effort and fulcrum is called effort arm. The levers work on the principle of moments. Principle of movement says total anti-clockwise movement is equal to total clockwise movement. That is already, the video is already uploaded, so you know that. So load into load arm is equal to effort into effort arm. That is the principle of movement. Total anti-clockwise movement, load into load arm, is equal to total clockwise movement, that is effort into effort arm. Then load by effort is equal to effort arm by load arm. So load by effort is mechanical advantage, that is equal to effort arm by load arm. So you can get it that mechanical advantage of a lever you can get very easily as effort arm by load arm directly. Now as I was telling, the different types of levers, class 1 lever where the fulcrum lies between load and effort. Now if you have seen mechanical advantage is equal to effort arm by load arm. Now if the fulcrum lies just midway between load and effort, then here the mechanical advantage will be 1. If the load fulcrum little bit shifts towards the load in such levers, what will happen? The effort arm will be greater than load arm. In that case, mechanical advantage will be greater than 1, and it will be less than 1 if effort arm is less than load arm. In that case, the mechanical advantage will be less than 1. When effort arm is greater than load arm, then mechanical advantage is greater than 1, it will be acting as a force multiplier. When effort arm is less than load arm, as the mechanical advantage is less than 1, then it will be acting as a speed multiplier. Now let us take the example. Effort arm is equal to load arm, you can have seesaw, physical balance, etc., etc. These examples are there. Then effort arm greater than load arm and effort arm less than load arm, you can have a very good example that both are the class 1 lever. So class 1 lever can have all the 3 parameters applicable, like mechanical advantage equal to 1, mechanical advantage greater than 1, mechanical advantage less than 1. All 3 are possible with the class 1 lever. So like seesaw and all these things I had told as the first case when mechanical advantage is equal to 1. The other 2 cases I can tell you that you take a plier and a scissor. Both are class 1 lever. Now in a plier the effort arm is less, effort arm is longer and load arm is smaller, and so it acts as a force multiplier. Okay. Whereas in scissor you cut soft materials, etc. So there the effort arm is smaller and the scissor blades are longer. So what happens? Load arm is longer. So mechanical advantage is less than 1 there, and it acts as a speed multiplier. Like the class 1 lever, many examples are there: handle of water, tube wells, claw hammer, scissors, crowbar, seesaw, spoon to open the lid of a tin can, then spade, turning soil. All these are the examples of class 1 lever. Then if the load lies between fulcrum and effort, fulcrum is there, load is there, and effort is there. So this is a schematic diagram for second class lever. So here load is between fulcrum and effort. Wherever the position of load you see here, the effort arm will be always greater than load arm, because load has to be in between if it is second class lever. Then the mechanical advantage of this lever will be always greater than 1, and it will be always be used as a force multiplier. Second class levers are always used as force multiplier because the mechanical advantage is always greater than 1. Wheelbarrow, bottle opener, nutcracker. These are the examples of class 2 lever. Then class 3 lever. Class 3 levers are the levers where the effort lies between the class 3 lever. Class 3 levers. Here the effort lies between fulcrum and load. So what you get immediately, the effort arm will be always smaller than the load arm. Whatever be the position of effort, it will be always between fulcrum and load. So effort arm will be always less than the load arm. So mechanical advantage will be always less than 1, and it will be always used as speed multiplier. Like the examples are any types of tongues: fire tongues, sewer tongues, knife, foot treadle. Examples. These are the examples of class 3 levers. Some human activities where you can use levers: nodding of head, class 1 lever; raising on your toes, class 2 lever; and raising a load on your palm, that is also class 3 lever. Now here in this chapter you may be asked to draw the schematic diagram to locate the position of load, fulcrum and effort properly. So that you have to do, and then the numericals are there, simple numericals are there, which you can practice and you can ask your doubts. Thank you. This is the first part of the machine chapter, and I am coming with the second part very quickly.